There we go. There it is. Well, okay. Hello, folks. Welcome to the monthly sewer information meeting, town hall, whatever you'd like to call it. For those that are joining us on YouTube, if you have a question, you can type it in the comments section. And Deputy Supervisor Ron Odenwald will read the question. And then folks in the audience, if you could just please step up so everybody could hear you when you have a question. I got an announcement first, some good news. You may recall that we asked the House of Representatives, Congressman Jack Bergman sponsored an action to get us $6.3 million for phase 3. The House Appropriations Committee and the subcommittee on water and energy gave us $1 million because we were asked what we needed to get the project started if they couldn't award the entire amount. So that did pass the House. I found out Sunday night late. We got a call from Senator Peters' office that $1 million is now before the Senate and has an extremely good chance of passage in the next few days. I thought we'd hear something today, but more on that to follow. There's been a lot of questions about where to put my hookup and, where are you going to put my hookup? All the drawings now are on the website, both phase 1 and phase 2. And there are some folks that have not yet contacted us yet, where if you don't want it there, that's fine. We have plenty of chances to change where you hook up on the street. The other thing, if you haven't heard already, the phase 2 and phase 1 plant expansion is out for bid. And we will open those bids on March 21st at 10 a.m. in this room. With me by phone is Aaron Nordman from Professional Engineering. And I'm going to turn it over to Aaron. Well, before I do that, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Okay, so Janet's with us, Aaron. And we're also live on YouTube, Aaron, so we might get some questions that way. We'll see. This is our first attempt. But go ahead, Aaron. Maybe you could bring us up to date, including the pre-construction meeting or the pre-bid meeting.
Yeah, so the phase 1 project is out to bid for all the collection system. It's divided into 2 contracts, one that's regular gravity sewer and one that's the low pressure sewer. And then the phase 1 and 2 is out to bid for the wastewater treatment plant expansion. We have pre-bid meetings scheduled for this Thursday, the 7th. We'll do in the morning the collection system walkthrough and bidder information meeting. And then in the afternoon, we'll do the plant pre-bid hearing. So after that, we'll have a pretty good idea of who's looking at this in terms of contractors. We'll get questions. We'll probably issue an addendum with additional information for people. And if all that goes well, this will keep carrying through and bids are due back, like you said, on the 21st.
Okay. Now, a lot of people get confused, Aaron, about, well, I thought we weren't doing phase 2, but you said phase 1 and phase 2 for the plant. Could you explain that dichotomy and what we have to do next to get phase 2 done?
Yes. So phases 1 and 2 both require capacity at the plant. So what we did is we rolled those 2 phases together in terms of expansion of the plant for the economy of scale and doing that work at one time.
Is that where we save like $1 million?
That's where we save about, it was like just shy of $1 million.
Okay.
Versus doing them independently. But the collection system piece of it does remain separated into the phase 1 and phase 2. So the phase 2, we're still waiting for permit and bid approval on the collection system part of phase 2. But the plant has been permitted and is out on the street.
Okay. Now, could you also explain about the bidding on the surge tank and how that's gonna, who's gonna pay for it? How's that gonna affect the overall system, including downtown?
Yeah, so the surge tank construction is part of the wastewater treatment plant expansion. The surge tank is basically going to be integrated into the overall capacity of the plant. It'll do a couple things. One is it gives the operator flexibility to take portions of the plant offline and use that as surge capacity. And then it also gives you the ability to have some future capacity that could utilize the summer flows being evened out in that surge tank to maintain your discharge limits.
Okay. And as I understand it, it's something about the bugs.
It's all about the bugs, yes. The wastewater treatment plant relies on a biological process to break down the wastewater. And keeping those bugs happy relies on even flow, even food for them, essentially wastewater strength. So the more flexibility you have in the operation of your plant for a community like Indian River, where you have a high variation in these seasonal flows, the better consistency you get in your discharge.
Mhm. And don't we have like uneven flows even during the day and the afternoon, or, aren't there peak times?
Yeah, they call that a diurnal cycle. There is a peak during the day, in the morning when people are getting ready for work, and then again at the evening.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to say, or should we take questions?
I would say go ahead and take questions.
Okay, so if you have a question, you can step right up to the podium and ask a question. Ron, do you have anything? No comments? Okay.
Go ahead. No, you went ladies first.
Just.
Hold it down. There you go.
I dropped this off at your office yesterday.
Yeah, I have
I
it.
just want to make sure you received it.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, the gentleman asked me to follow up.
Yeah, sure.
I'm doing what he's asked.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, are you going to be able to get back with him?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I assume that this sewer line is gonna go right down the middle of the road, am I correct?
Depends on where you are. Is that a good answer, Aaron?
How about?
It does depend where you are, yes.
Okay, my question is, what are you gonna do if it goes down the center of the road? What are you gonna do with the 90-footer white pines that are real close to the road? Like the plow has to avoid, they're that close.
Did you hear that, Aaron?
Yeah, are you concerned about like the root systems or something like that?
Well, I was concerned about not concerned because it doesn't matter to me or not, but there's quite a few big white pines that are directly
In the right of way.
in the right of way of the road. And I've always been taught that the root system goes for water, and evidently they grow the root systems. I don't know if they'd rupture the pipe in 10 years or not.
Yeah, so we did in the survey process, try to locate significant trees. So we do try to avoid them. There's some areas where we might have to take a tree, but the modern construction of sewer involves watertight seals in plastic pipe. It's not the same as the clay tile and the other older technologies of pipe where you would have roots kind of intruding into there at joints.
Okay, that's fine, but what about root growth disrupting the pipe?
We don't really anticipate disrupting the sewer pipe.
All right, I was just wondering, that's the end of my question. I just wondering if you had to take them down or not.
There are a few that might strategically come down, but we're trying to avoid a lot of the large ones.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Step right up. Hi, Sally.
You know I always have questions.
Well, that's good. I may not have the answer, but I'll get you one.
Is it on?
Just-
Yeah, it's on.
Just push it down.
It's on.
There you go.
You might have to be patient with me because
Sure.
sometimes I have to think about how to word the questions so that you understand that with my lack of knowledge, what I'm trying to get to. But
Well, mine too.
when you said the drawings are on the website, is that under the sewer
Yes.
project area where the bid package or whatever it was, it's under that?
Yeah, so if
same-
you go to sewer expansion, right? And at the very top, it's got all the bid, the plant bidding stuff
Mhm.
and the drawings for phase one. Am I correct, Aaron?
Yes.
Okay, and then right under that, I moved up the phase two drawing so people wouldn't have to scroll all the way down.
Okay,
And then if people want to see the USDA application, like our contract with Aaron, our contract with the financial advisor, our contract with the lawyer, that's off to the left where it says phase one sewer documents
Mm.
and phase two sewer documents.
okay. Sometimes I have trouble getting around from point A to point B.
Yeah, so do I.
Took me a long time to find out where you hid the or the
Yeah, we just put that up there a
meeting
week ago.
package. Um, Does Aaron think that because we have 3 attending this pre-bid, pre-construction, whatever meeting is, that we're most likely to be lucky enough to have at least 3 bidders?
Did you get that, Aaron?
I think so. You're asking if we think there'll be at least 3 bidders?
Yes.
Yes, I do believe we're gonna have a pretty good turnout. And at this point, I am anticipating at least 3 bidders.
Have you gotten any inquiries, Aaron?
We have, yes.
A lot, a few?
I would say quite a few. For the current environment where it can be tough to turn up contractors, we've been trying to market this thing like mad and drum up everybody we think might be interested.
Good. We'll see.
Yes, we will know a lot more on Thursday.
And that's at 9, 10.
10 for the collection system and 1 PM for the plant,
At the plant.
at the plant.
Okay.
Okay, I want to ask about this, the surge tank, and I understand, or I think I understood Aaron to say that it's going to be built in phase 1. Integrated for phase 2, and that some of the additional capacity may be used in the future for the industrial portion, the businesses.
The commercial portion.
Commercial, right. How will those costs be allocated, or is phase 1 going to pay for the whole thing?
The phase one grant from EGLE will pay for the whole thing, right, Aaron? Because it really, as I recall, when we wrote that grant, we were really concerned about the summer surge caused by residents, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, it's a little,
And
A
any,
little confusing.
any benefit to the commercial system or phase two is secondary, correct?
yeah, it is technically not part of phase 1 or phase 2. you got separate money from the state through Eagle, through that grant to pay for that.
Yeah, but it was for the phase one area.
For the phase, yeah, it was in that initial service area that all that happened, but
Right.
it's
So-
not from the funding. The rest of phase one is funded through USDA.
Yeah,
That has its own source of funding.
right. What she's getting at is if the surge tank's gonna benefit everybody, why isn't everybody else paying the cost? But when we wrote that grant, as I recall, it was based on the high amount of summer usage. And so we'll get some additional benefit. I'm not a technical guy. Help me with this.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's hard to take a certain flow and say, well, this is attributed to that. All this flow from existing phase one, phase two, all has to be processed through the plant. The surge tank benefits the process as a whole, but what happened in the phase one is the commercial district has grown and added things in addition to the phase one and phase two collection areas coming online. So there was already a concern about dealing with these peaks with what's going on now.
Okay. Because I know that whatever money is left over from that surge tank, we specified that its next use would be to offset any increases to the phase one residents. And then if not, it would be used to help individual homeowners with their hookups.
Well, and just, Aaron, the reason I'm partially asking the question is because when the systems have been designed, were designed with certain capacities for the ability to sell certain numbers of whatever they're called now. They're not REUs, they're something else.
EDUs.
Okay. And so therefore, we already know that the commercial district is at capacity.
Well, we think it's at capacity because of that one incident. But our operator is telling us that based on our new, what do you call that? That new permit we got that we had to fight so hard to get since 2017, Aaron?
Your discharge permit.
Yeah, we doubled our discharge permit. And that effectively is giving downtown an additional, I think Tammy said, what, 70 to 75 REUs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I recall.
Okay, that's good to know because that's something that we didn't know. We knew that there were X number of
Right.
REUs that were designed into the commercial system, and that when we were calculating with phase one and phase two potential costs,
Mhm.
that in fact, there were certain number of REUs that had been assigned
Right.
and that there were excess. So we knew what that was. So that way, what you're telling me, and I think that's important for other people to know,
Mhm.
is that you're not stealing you're not stealing REUs from phase one or phase two. And phase one and two, you're not stealing REUs from
No.
commercial. So that no matter how it initially started, and that the problem really is created by the surge.
Yeah, the good news is, though, this prior board in 2017 saw that coming and applied to EGLE for that permit. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And it took a state senator and a state representative to finally get that pushed through. So thus the addition, if phase one and phase two is never built, we have an additional capacity of 75 REUs.
Okay.
Now, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've learned from you is because this plant is modular, we're adding 500 REUs capacity correct?
Through the plant expansion, yep,
Right. Not including the surge tank, right?
correct.
But we're only talking about 420 REUs in phase
Correct.
one and phase two. So that's yet another 75 or 80 REUs. So
That's right.
we're going to have up to 150 REUs to play with if we finish this. But I will say that now that I've gotten to know Tammy quite well, I believe what she told me, that something happened that one August, what was it, 2020, 2019?
I don't know.
Where we got this big surge in August. Remember, Aaron?
Yes.
But we have taken other steps to reduce the flow. We are putting meters on some places. And in one instance, we required a 24/7, 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, very high capacity set of bait wells to come off the sewer system. And we also put that business on a meter. And I think that will make not a big difference, but altogether it will make a difference, I think.
Well, there was a lot of water going through those bait wells that were just being pushed through the sewer system. And it was costing, the
Especially when it rained.
capacity was going up, yeah. So we take them off the system and then they have to filter their own bait wells, right? And do it themselves, takes that off of our sewer system, then that will reduce the surge considerably.
And that's saving them a ton of money because we did vote to put them on a well, meter. And at 2 cents a gallon, it would have just been astronomical for them. So
Do we have any of our well overflows that are going to go into the sewer?
better not.
Okay, but there's a way to,
How about that, Aaron? Because that is a concern. As you've seen, we got a lot of artesian wells and they got to go somewhere.
Yeah, that's not allowed per your ordinance.
Okay.
So if the township becomes aware of somebody connecting a drain like that, you'll have to make them disconnect.
Yeah. Well, this place I used to live, people used to take their rain gutters and put them in the sewer system, and then we had a problem. So that same concept.
Same concept, right? Right.
well, I don't want to take up all the time.
No, go ahead. We have plenty of time.
Yeah, plenty of time.
The, you have to remember, it's called senior moment.
Hey, that's okay. I have it every day. You get 2 bites at the apple.
Somebody save me and come ask a question so I can remember what.
Did we get
I
any
was gonna
questions?
ask.
No? Any viewers? Good.
Tell me more about how much time or how I'm supposed to do it if I'm not sure where I want my connect. I assume that as they build by section, that once they've put the street lines, whatever it is, the collection lines, isn't that what they are, Aaron?
Yeah. So the question is, Aaron, how much time do people have to make a final decision on where they want their tap? Correct?
Mhm.
Yes, so the sooner we can be informed, the better. But essentially you have until they're coming down your street and laying in the service wise. There's no real cost difference for them to drop your service Y at one location versus somewhere else.
Okay, and when,
So I assume there will be some level of people talking to us during construction.
no kidding. Yes.
Yeah, this is going to be a busy place this summer, Aaron, if this
Yes.
marches forward.
When
That's right.
we talk about your connection is way down underground?
Yes. Below the frost line.
Okay, so how do they mark that so that your guy that has to connect from the tap to your waste system coming from the house? Because that too has to start, obviously, someplace and come. Describe how, if mine's a normal connection with, my next door neighbor, 30 or 40 or 50 feet away, how what they're gonna do from the time they put the tap in to how it gets to my grinder pump or to my waste, where my septic tank is, because I assume that's where they're gonna.
If you
hook up.
run a line down the middle of the road, Aaron, I don't have to hook up in the middle of the road. You're gonna put it over to my property line, right?
That's right. Everybody gets their service at their property line. If you have a pumping system, there'll be an actual metal valve box has a valve that's shut off. So you can make the connection without any back pressure against you. And if you have a gravity service, we run a 2x4 wooden post up above grade. And there's a little piece of rebar. So if that gets lost, you can metal detect it. So you can find the connection point.
So whoever's doing the hookup from my connection point, that's how they'll get access to where they need to hook up.
Exactly. That's right.
I still can't remember that question.
Well, she's gonna ask a question, but you can come back up if you remember. You gotta come up so we can hear you.
So I was just gonna kind of help answer your question. So you want to come out of your house wherever your septic tank is, and have the tee off right there, so you can just do a straight shot right into the sewer.
Unless you live on a giant hill like she does.
Yeah, well, you're still gonna have to come out in line with your tank.
Yeah, and fish.
Yeah. And also, so we kind of put together a flat rate. If you're under 50 foot from your hookup and you have just one tank to get rid of, like a gravity flow, then we'd be between 3,500 and 4,000 per house to hook up.
50 feet.
Yep, under 50 foot.
I can't imagine anybody being under 50 feet.
But as far as like the distance of pipe and getting rid of one tank and topsoil and seed your way out and all of that, anything over that, we have to just go by, the extra material and bid each one separately.
Aaron, has pipe come down any? By the way?
I don't think it's necessarily coming down. It seems to have stabilized somewhat.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
So
Anything else?
just putting that out there.
Yeah, good. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Danielle?
That's Danielle. Hey, Sally, you could help us out. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but could you tell the story you told to me once about, how when Dale was putting a lot of this in and it was too late and, they had everything in the wrong place. I need Aaron and everyone to hear that again. Remember that?
Yeah, I told Aaron, because
Yeah.
I knew that Aaron might be confronted with the fact, hey, in the good old days, this is when we were putting the commercial sewer in.
Yeah.
And
Excuse me. Sir. Go ahead.
And that the same thing sort of that Aaron's talking about while they're coming down the street, if you want to change, now's the time to do it. Well, that wasn't quite how it was offered. It was a matter of, and remember, you're talking commercial districts, so that most of them are going behind their buildings. And everybody's different about what's behind their building and where you're going to bring your line in, and you have to avoid the grease traps for the restaurants and the whole bit. And so when Dale, Bridgewater Excavating, was working with the drawings and going to do hookups, and he hooked up. Daniel, your dad hooked up most of the systems in Indian River. He would dig down because they weren't boring at that stage of the game, I don't think, were they? And he would dig down where the drawing said it was, and he wouldn't find anything. And now some of these surfaces are blacktopped, so you're making quite a mess. And it's not easy, to slide over and see if it's 6 inches or is it 12 inches. And in many cases, he found it wasn't even close.
Well, Aaron, that's what I'm thinking now, hearing this again. I know you said you were going to mark rebar on pumps, but what about the others?
No, the rebar is for the gravity sewers. So there'll be a wooden post with a little piece of rebar by it, just to eliminate exactly what Sally's talking about. That's very common.
Okay, and then for the pressure, you're going to have the grinder.
Yeah, for the pressure one, they have an actual curb stop that's in a metal valve box. So
Okay.
that one is clearly visible.
Okay. Okay.
And his generosity in talking to Dale, when he was doing the commercial district, and he had to go move several feet and dig several places, he never charged the business for that additional cost. So it shows how critical it is. Obviously, at one point in time, the drawings were correct. And as they moved down and somebody said, well, why would you put that big drain or whatever it is, manhole cover right in the middle of my parking lot? If you would move it over here, it wouldn't get driven over, we wouldn't have to worry about ice heave, or I don't know anything about that stuff, but that kind of thing. And the contractor would say, yes, that's right. Why don't we? And besides, if we do that there, then the connection over here becomes easier, blah, blah, blah. Only they never touched the drawings. So that's something to watch out for.
Okay, do we have any other comments or questions? No? Janet?
No, I'm good.
So I would like to hear from the, hey, Aaron, I'd
Yes.
like you involved in this. At some point, I hate making work for everybody, but at some point, one meeting a month is not going to be enough. Do you think?
No, when we're in construction, we hold weekly progress meetings.
Okay, and the public could attend?
We typically don't have the public involved in it, but the township representatives would be there, whoever you want.
Okay. I guess I'm trying to figure out, you're going to have a swarm of summer residents come up, and they're all going to want to figure out where their tap's going to be all at once. And I'm trying to figure out how to handle that. I can hear it now where some people will say, well, I'm only up here for 3 weeks. I won't be here.
Yeah. On the plus side, we'll be there all the time. So we can work something out if you want to have, offer a few opportunities or schedule something where people can meet.
Yeah,
or
just
open up.
maybe just
progress meetings.
like open hours for you, like every Thursday at noon or something, or every other Thursday, something
Yeah,
like
we can
that,
figure something like that. Yep.
rather than just once a month.
Right.
Because we just want to, at this meeting, we just want to convey, general information. We don't want to spend time getting down into the weeds, going through maps and blueprints and, well, let's give that some thought, eh?
Yes, that's a good idea.
I mean, you've been through this before, so.
Yeah. And, really, the more communicating you do, the smoother your project goes anyways. So I'm all about it.
Okay, anybody else have anything else? Yes, ma'am. Yep. No, it's fine. We have plenty of time.
Sorry.
Sally, wave at the camera.
There you are, right there.
There you are.
I have my best side to the screen, right? Camera or whatever.
Okay, okay.
The, Sally, you should have written it down before you got up to walk.
Don't worry about it.
See, you distracted me.
So I'm sorry.
Either at this meeting or at next month's meeting, there was the question that was raised about what's going to happen next. In other words, we're obviously going to go through the bid process and the awarding of contracts and that kind of stuff. But once we find out what the bids are, is there any restriction as to, or reason why we need to go back, unless it's outrageously expensive, to repetition the system?
No,
Because I think that's a really important piece that you're going to get hit on several times.
and I've told people repeatedly, and I'll say it over and over and over again. I've checked with our bond counsel so many times, he doesn't want to hear it from me anymore. Everything from this point on is in the hands of the
The
Board of
board.
Trustees.
That was my
The Board
understanding.
of Trustees, there will be no repetition. Now, if we go 10% over, we have to have public hearings. We have to listen to the public. But at the end of the day, the 5 board members of the Board of Trustees will decide the issue. Now, if it's under 10%, and jump in here if I'm wrong, Aaron, if it's under 10%, it's a go. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I think it's critical. I know communication is really hard. And we don't all communicate the same way. I mean, some people use YouTube and some people use Facebook and some people use Messenger. I have no idea what that is.
Some people use the US Postal Service.
I guess.
Yeah.
These days, you're taking your life in your hands if you do, but I think it's important because the feedback that I get from people up here, most of them, obviously we have some people that are upset.
Mhm.
They didn't sign the petition to start with,
Yeah.
and they haven't changed their mind.
Mhm.
But we have other people who you can't start fast enough, and unless it costs double
Mhm.
what was being talked about back when we went out for the petition process, people say, how fast can you hook up? So, even 30 days, they're nervous about, how many times am I going to have to pump my system because the contractors aren't going to show up in 5 minutes?
Mhm.
Or you start over at this end of the phase 1, and lo and behold, I live at the other end, that kind of a situation. So however, your newsletter, the website, the township website,
Sure, I'll put a note in there.
I think it's really important that we prepare them as we're coming into what the bid's going to cost, because Aaron says it's going to come in 10% less, that his contingency is there to save us. But
I don't remember him saying that.
didn't you say that, Aaron?
Hey, Aaron, she's getting sneaky. You better be careful.
I know. I hear that.
But she did remind me of one good thing. We still have a very loose knit community organization called CHIRP. A couple people in this room are on the executive committee, but for the longest time, as you recall, and you too, we talked about helping people that can't afford sewers. And I know we have a little bit of money. You have a little bit of money left over, but we have the USDA program out of Sault Ste. Marie. But we also found some help. Ron, what's the name of that organization in Gaylord? The community?
It's a NEMSCA something.
Yeah, Northeast Community Service
The flyers are on the-
organization. The flyers are out here. We had one case here recently where they actually helped someone in our district pay the sewer bill. So that is some additional help. And I did talk to them. They're going to come up and talk with us when the time is right about what help they can offer. But the good news is they also qualify people.
Hmm.
So remember I said, or, we all kind of talked about it. We don't want to be the ones to make that determination of, whether they should get help or not. It needs to be like the USDA or maybe this organization. So we're making some progress there. Are we going to be able to help everybody? Probably not. But I did talk to one lady in phase 1 that's very concerned because she's on such a limited fixed income. And in fact, I've talked to
Yeah, and we
quite
can,
a
we
few.
can, we can try to get some help for the people. They have to be qualified through the USDA and this other organization. But what they do is do like a poverty level type thing and all that. And then they figure out, and then they can help, USDA will help you with your hookups, will not help you with your sewer bills. Okay. But this organization here, if you qualify, may help you with your sewer bills as well. So there's help out here. And we're going to look into getting people coming up and having informational meetings for those who are interested.
That's wonderful.
And we can facilitate things like that. We won't be involved in that process other than just getting the word out to everybody and giving them the availability to, hear what's going on and to apply. Whether they're decided to be, whether they are involved in that whole thing or not, whether they meet the criteria or not, is not up to us. But there is help out there, and we're going to try to facilitate as much as we can with that and help those who need it. Because we know that sewer bills are not cheap. We know that hookups are not cheap, even though Danielle did a good job. And so we're trying to facilitate that, but we have to get the bids process done and if the bids are approved, then we have to get started on the project. And then we have like 2 years to get all of that other stuff taken care of. They have to build it first, before, and then you have a year after they build it to hook up. So we have lots of time to get that involved. Just FYI too, on what Bob was saying, we checked with the bond counsel. That is our attorney when it comes to these kind of things. He is our bond lawyer. When we take grants or loans, USDA type things, or these federal earmarks or whatever they are.
Or SADs on a road.
SAD on the road, whatever. He is our advisor. He's our legal lawyer when it comes to this stuff. So we have to do however the process is required us to do. And whether people think that it should be repetitioned or not, I'm sensitive to that. If I didn't know the process, I would say, oh yeah, it should be. But the point is, everybody had a chance to say yay or nay at the very beginning. And a nay vote was also a no, a non-involvement.
vote.
Yeah, even if you didn't vote, it was still considered a nay vote. So therefore, everybody had a chance to say yay or nay at the very beginning. And then we have to start the process depending on the percentage of yay votes that were presented to us. So now we've gotten to this point, we can't go backwards. We have to keep going forwards to find out what the bid process is, and then the board will decide how to go forward on that. That's just part of the process. We have to follow the law. We have to follow what our bond attorney says. And even though we may say, well, it sounds fair to have it repetition, the people already spoke.
Okay, but I understand that the problem is that somehow there's apparently a written piece of paper floating around someplace that says, and who said it, I don't know. And at that time, it was probably very early in the stage. And with the commercial district, they did agree when they went out that if it came in 10% more, they would not move forward. And that's why it took them so long to get their first system off the ground, is because they had to find more money to the point where they could, through grants,
Go
that
forward,
they could
yeah.
go forward.
Mhm.
And everyone is really grateful for that right now. I mean, at the time, it was very contentious, but I think if you talk to most of the businesses, if not all the businesses in town, they are tickled pink that they have the sewer system in. It
I think so
wasn't,
too.
wasn't the horror that they thought it was gonna be.
Right.
Well, I can tell you right now that if we went out and said we're going to repetition this, the supporters would have a cause of action against us in court.
Well, I don't want to go there.
I don't either.
I'm just cautioning you from
Yeah.
my perspective
Yeah.
and from what the little I've heard is that communication is a tough way. It's tough to get good communication in this community, particularly this time of year.
Right.
It's hard enough when most of the cottages are full. And the other thing that I would ask you to consider, or maybe there's an alternative to that, is there a message board? And I want, the one that comes to mind is not very big, but it's the one right outside of the main door of the township, where people like Danielle, if they're gonna look for customers,
Mm.
you know, to hook up, or if there's somebody and you would have to make a decision. It's not the usual put your card on the board like you get when you get into the restaurants, but that have a meaningful, an answer to a question that would be another way to communicate. Hey, as we say, if you want to know if there's going to be a meeting in town hall, you can go on the web or you can go to the front door. So if there's a way to communicate that way,
Okay.
I mean, I move around pretty good in this town and there's lots of things that I'm surprised by. So I think that for those who are particularly coming in as summer residents, it's going to be really hard to catch up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sally.
One thing I'd like to say too is that there may have been some miscommunication about whether you could repetition or not repetition early on in the process. It's a learning curve for all of us. This is the first time any of us has done this. We are learning as we go along. Sometimes things get said thinking this is the right thing to do, and then we find out, nope, we couldn't do that after all. That's what happens sometimes because it is a learning curve. This process is very complicated. It is more complicated now than it was when we put in the commercial sewer system. All the rules and the regulations are so much tighter. And we went from a volume like this to a volume like that thick of all our rules and regulations. So things have increased, not for the worse. I think it's for the better, but we are on a very tight restraint as far as what we can and cannot do. And so if there was miscommunication, I apologize by that, but you have to understand, we're all learning. None of us on this board have done this before. So we're trying our best to make sure that we get that communication. Sometimes it's miscommunication and we apologize for that, but we're trying to put our best foot forward and tell you what we know now. And that's what we're doing. So I apologize if there was miscommunication. Anything else? Hold it down.
Okay, oh, gee, okay. I just wanted to reiterate about the help that you were talking about and qualifying for help getting hookups. It was my understanding when we first started talking about this, that sometimes that was a grant and sometimes that was a loan. And I just wanted to clarify that might be one of two things. Is that still correct?
On,
For
You-
hookups with the state,
if there's money left over
right?
from,
The
but this
surge.
is only for phase one,
Right.
for the surge tank.
Mhm.
And if it's not needed because of an overreach,
Mhm.
then that has to be divided equally amongst the phase one property owners for hookups.
I understand that one. But you had also, or I thought we had also talked about at one time that there was a mechanism for people to apply to the USDA or to the state
Correct.
for either
Susan.
a grant or a loan, depending on their
Right. So-
qualifications. So I just wanted to clear up
Right.
that it might be either or.
It
Right.
depends
those
on
two
their
things.
level
yes,
of income.
income, okay.
So it
Sure.
could be an outright grant, or it may be a no interest or low interest.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that people understood.
That's great. Thank you for that. Okay, folks, we're running out of time here, so I want to thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll see you next month and have good news. Thanks for coming.